Hello, and welcome to the dungeon. I'm your host, Rob. In today's video, I figured I'd go back to my Salty and Saltmarsh series and cover a couple more sessions and, update that a little more. Also, I do mean to make more videos, it's just been kind of a weird time lately, but I've definitely been slacking in there, so I apologize. But, anyways, just as a quick recap, in session 1 and 2 technically, but in video 1 we covered, I made a character, I decided to go with a Sorlock, and I named him Moo, right? We decided to roll for stats, which is usually good, but I rolled absolutely terribly. I had a 13 was my best stat, a couple 10s, an 8, and 2 7s. So he was terrible. And we're assigned with like searching this haunted house. Our party is like myself, Kenku Rogue. We did pick up a cleric later, but she couldn't make it the first week, so we didn't have the cleric for week 1. And then we had a ranger, who I'm just going to call Ranger Guy. I can't remember his name, so Ranger Guy it is. Anyways, first game session, we almost die like 10 times. Every time we're like searching something, there's a trap, or there's like yellow mold, or something else almost kills us, right? And as the night goes on, I start to... I'm kind of being a whiny little B-word. So, the DM finally was like, hey, look, if you don't like a character, just re-roll a new character. I'm like, no, I want to play a Sorlock, So then finally, he's just like, look, you're just going to try to get your character killed. He was convinced I was trying to get my character killed. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to die. I have 10 dexterity and 10 constitution, and I'm a sorcerer. So I have 10 armor class and 6 hit points. I don't need to try to die. It's just going to happen. Like that's all that's going to be. So then finally he's like, look, just make a new character. I'm like, okay, fine, but I feel like playing a Sorlock, so I'm just going to make Moo's brother, Woo. And then he's like, why don't you make it like some, I don't know, like some hot Asian girl or something like that, like some K-pop star. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. But I think he knew that if I did that, I might actually try to keep the character alive more. So I ended up making Ning Ning, sister of Moo, and who's also a sorcerer. But this time when we rolled for stats, I rolled like 4 15s, a 14, and a 7. So this one actually has great stats. So, I also went custom lineage the first time, but Mike the DM didn't like that, so I went with variant human this time. So I ended up with a bunch of 16s, and, character's much better. However, her luck is no better than her brother's. She almost dies numerous times. It's kind of a disaster. I did take the Fey Touch feat this time. I took it on Moo as well, but I can't remember what the first little spell I took with Moo was. And then obviously I got Misty Step for free. But in this one, I decided to ask if I could take Silvery Barbs, and the DM said sure, even though it's kind of campaign specific. And this is Greyhawk, but whatever. He said fine, so I was like, okay, cool. So she does better spells and better stats. But like I said, no better luck. She almost dies numerous times, right? So finally, we managed to complete the haunted house part, and we come back to town, and we are working for this group called the Quartermasters of Ayas, or the Guildmasters of Ayas, or something like that. Basically, there's an evil cult that worships Ayas, but for some reason, they're the people that keep wanting to hire us and give us all of our jobs. Most of their jobs are somewhat beneficial to the town, but it's really like, go kill these evil smugglers, who are actually evil smugglers, but it's because they're in direct competition with the Quartermasters of Ayas. Oh, go kill these evil devil-worshipping cultists, who I figured are probably an orphanage full of innocent children. But no, it turns out they are evil devil-worshipping cultists, who are in direct competition with the Guildmasters of Ayas. You're starting to notice a pattern here, aren't you? Anyways, they send us out on a mission to go kill the rest of the smugglers. So we have to go out to this place called the Sea Ghost, and we take our ship, and we manage to board their ship, and we get into this huge fight. And the fight goes not great. We are at level 3 at this point. So I do have web, which is at least nice. And our cleric, I'm not kidding you when I say that she casts Shatter more often than every healing and buff spell put together. And it's not even close, by the way. She's just a DPS cleric. That's all she does, tries to do. And since she has channel divinity and she's a Tempest Domain cleric, she can do max damage on Shatter, okay? That's the combo, right? Anyways, so she shatters a bunch of guys, and we managed to kill them all, but it's a pretty rough fight, and things don't go super great. But we do manage to survive the mission, right? So anyways, next we get sent to try to parley with the lizard folk, because on this ship that the pirates have, they also have this aquatic elf, like prisoner or something, and we couldn't talk. Nobody in the party speaks Elven, not even me. I took lizard folk because I figured, oh well, it's like there's a lot of water, there's probably swamps and stuff. I'll take lizard folk. That could be kind of handy. But nobody in the party thought about taking like Elven or Sylvan or anything remotely like that, let alone if there's a specific sea elf language, who knows. So we can't even talk to the guy. But we do kind of figure out that he was trying to bring weapons to the lizard folk so they could arm themselves against the Sahovgan, who apparently have moved in. So the shark people are moving in on the lizard people, and now sea elves and lizard folk want to fight the shark people, right? Mostly in self-defense. So anyways, we come back to town, we bring this great news, and so they want us to go try to talk to the lizard folk. And I'm like, well, I do speak lizard folk, so why not? Right? Perfect person for the job. So we go trudging off towards the lizard folk area through the swamp. We end up fighting a bunch of bullywogs. That goes quite badly, but we do manage to survive. We later meet another group of bullywogs that try to attack us, but I try to parley with them, but I don't speak their languages either. So I decided to try and use my performance skill, though, and do some, like, dance of peace. And the DM was like, sure, why not? And then I rolled ridiculously well, and he's like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but I'll let it go. And so we did not have to fight the second group of bullywogs. We eventually get to the lizard folk, and because I speak fluent lizard folk, of course, we managed to get in there. I talked to the queen. They bring us to see her, but she doesn't really trust the humans or the Kenku. I mean, the Kenku probably just looks like dinner, to be honest. But the humans, anyway, we do have an elf, I think. I think the cleric's an elf, and then me and Ranger guy are both human. And but of course, the lizard folk want us to prove our worth to them. So they send us off to swamp to kill this legendary crocodile named Thousand Teeth. I don't think anybody actually counted. It's probably just an approximation. But anyways, we go to fight Thousand Teeth, and we finally find where his lair is supposed to be. Problem is, his lair is like in the swamp underwater. And none of us really want to go under the water to try to get him. I mean, for one thing, my clothes are going to get wet. That's no good. But for another thing, that just seems like a really silly and stupid thing to do. So the ranger decides to come up with this plan where he is going to lure Thousand Teeth out of his lair using himself as bait. And this plan actually works flawlessly. He manages to lure Thousand Teeth out of his lair, where Thousand Teeth proceeds to then eat the ranger. So, I mean, he doesn't die right away. We're all fighting Thousand Teeth, but sure enough, Thousand Teeth kills the ranger. I even used silvery barbs because the ranger gets hit once and he would have gone down, but I'm like, silvery barbs, reroll. And the DM rerolls and it was a miss, so we're like, yes, it worked. And then he used one of his legendary actions to make another bite attack, and he rolled a 20. And of course, I have no more reaction, and so the ranger just gets like straight up murked. And of course, the clerk, is she healing? No, of course she's not. You didn't know the answer. She's DPSing. She's got a spiritual weapon now. Why would she need to cast Healing Word? I mean, come on. You've got only one bonus action, You could be attacking with a spiritual weapon with that bonus action. So we do manage to kill Thousand Teeth, but we lose Ranger Guy. And then, of course, I decided to give this big speech about how we'll never forget your Ranger Guy, even though I literally don't remember his name from 2 seconds ago. And then the guy playing him, Jaden, he's just like, his name is whatever. I'm like, you'll be missed, Ranger Guy. We will always remember you, Ranger Guy. And he's just like, I hate you so much. So we decided to bring Ranger Guy's glaive back to home, and we bring Thousand Teeth's head. So we pick it up and I don't carry it. I've got 7 strength, of course. Ning Ning's not carrying anything, let's be honest. Everybody else in the party is carrying it. We throw it into this like wagon thing that the lizard folk give us. But we do manage to negotiate the peace deal with the lizard folk. And So everything here is going good so far. So we return back to town, and Jaden, of course, decides to make himself a new character because now Ranger Guy's dead. But Ranger Guy was he's actually like a Drake Warden Ranger, and he was using a polearm, right, with polearm mastery. The problem is, though, he has his Drake, which he can command with a bonus action. He's got the butt-end polearm attack, which he can use with a bonus action. And because he was worried that Thousand Teeth was going to escape in the swamp at one point, he was trying to use Hunter's Mark as well, which, of course, is a bonus action. That's a lot of bonus actions. So the good thing about Fighter Guy is that he does not have a lot of bonus actions. He's just got polearm mastery. So Jaden makes his new character, and instead of being a ranger, he's now going to be an Eldritch Knight. I think originally he was going to be a champion or a battle master or something, but he ends up he's going to be a psionic knight. That's what it was. But he ends up going with the Eldritch Knight instead. But he still takes polearm mastery because the figurine he bought has a polearm. And it is a really nice figurine, but it was also $18. And he's like, there's no way I'm spending $18 on this figurine and then not using it for this campaign. So Ranger Guy is dead, but Fighter Guy is in. And he's got polearm mastery as well. So second verse, similar to the first, but I can't complain. I went from a Sorlock Moo to his sister Ning Ning, who's basically the same, just with way better stats. So, who am I to say anything, right? Anyways, we end up recruiting good old Ranger Guy, and we get sent on our next mission, which is this like salvage operation. So there's a ship that's like run aground on a bunch of rocks or something. And of course, the fine people at the Quartermasters of Aya's, Zedros or whatever, or Zendros, whatever the leader of their group is, she tells us that, there's this just evil, terrible merchant who is using his ill-gotten gains to exploit and, take advantage of all the kind people in Saltmarsh and the surrounding community. And he lost all of his gold in this like magical chest, which he had on the ship that he was using. And so if we are to go recover this magical chest that we can't open, but they can, then of course the money from that will be able to go to a good purpose. Like the Quartermasters of Ayas are obviously going to do, feeding orphans, taking care of the homeless, that kind of stuff, right? It's not like they're going to use their money to serve an evil demon god. I mean, come on, who would do that? So we, of course, go to the freaking salvage mission, and we find the ship. We got these dwarves that like row us out in the boat. We do have the pirate boat that we'd captured earlier, the Sea Ghost or whatever it was called. But we didn't want to use it because we're like, what if we lose our boat? I mean, come on. That's the only thing we've gotten so far in this entire adventure. So we decide to get the dwarves to row us out. So they row us out, and we get on board the ship, and we start exploring it. And we're trying to be kind of stealthy because it turns out there's still some like pirates on board the ship, but they're all like hiding in some of the rooms that like haven't flooded and stuff, and eating the remainder of the food and stuff, right? So like, well, we don't need to fight all these people. We just need to like recover this freaking chest and get out of here. So we're searching. We're trying to be all careful and not get in a bunch of fights. We did get in a couple fights. They were just sort of inevitable. But then we finally managed to get down to the cargo hold. And Fighter Guy decides, he sees the chest, so he decides he's going to drop down there and grab the chest, right? So he drops down and then gets attacked by 4 ghouls that were hiding in the darkness. So we get in our big fight. And fortunately, because of silvery barbs, Fighter Guy manages to not get like disease, paralyzed, or anything else. I can't even remember I can't remember if they're ghouls or gas. It does matter, but whatever. It's not important right now. Oh, I should have mentioned at the beginning, obviously there's going to be spoilers for the adventure. I mean, we're doing a campaign review here. Obviously spoilers are a part. I realize that, 8 or 10 minutes into the video is probably not the best time to announce that there's going to be spoilers, but I'll try to remember to put a warning at the beginning in the text, right? Anyways, oops, my bad. I'm not the kind of guy who like spoils the whole plot of the movie, and then I'm like, oh, by the way, spoilers, guys. Terrible. Anyways, so we go down. He manages to we kill the undead, and he goes to get the chest, right? And we're trying to figure out how to get out of there. Now, there is a ladder, but the chest weighs something like 300 pounds. And I mean, fighter guy's got 18 strength, so he can probably lift it. But what he can't do is like throw it over his shoulder and then climb up a ladder one-handed while carrying the treasure chest. That's probably not going to happen. So we use a bunch of ropes and we lower them down, and Ning Ning has to help them try to lift because we're way too weak without her. With my -2 strength modifier, though, I'm probably not helping a lot. But we managed to like finally get the chest back up there, and the fighter guy is helping us push it up, and then he climbs up the ladder and finally helps us pull it up. And I think his strength is higher than like everybody else in the party put together, probably. Oh no, wait, the cleric's got a pretty decent strength too. That's right, because she's in full plate. But whatever, not important. Anyways, we managed to recover the chest, and we bring it back, and of course, the Guildmaster of Aya decided to use the chest for all sorts of wonderful activities, I'm sure. Oh, but how could I almost forget this? Okay, so the worst part is, once we recover the chest, the boat gets attacked by like a giant octopus or a giant squid, something like, I don't know, something with lots of tentacles, whatever. Not Cthulhu, though. So we managed to, we're like running for the top and trying to get out because the boat's getting crushed, it's taking on water and everything else. But it turns out all the guys that are on the boat that we didn't kill, including some monsters, they all start trying to run for the top deck because they're also taking in water. And it turns into this giant battle royale with us trying to fight all the things. Like here we are thinking we're being all smart by not getting in a bunch of fights. And then it turns out we end up having to fight like everything all at once. Just an absolute disaster. So anyways, during this absolute disaster, we see the dwarves and they're like bravely rowing towards the boat to come save us. I'm like, wow, good for them. You know, giant octopus attacks. They could have headed the other direction, but they didn't. They're coming to save us. That's nice. So they're rowing ever closer. We're trying to like just survive. But during the giant fight, our Kenku rogue ends up getting hit and he ends up going down. Now he's not dead. He's just making death saving throws, right? So of course he immediately, because it's Paul, rolls a natural 1, of course. So that counts as 2 failures. So he's almost dead. So then this is where the salt begins to flow. Our fighter guy starts trying to tell the cleric to heal the rogue. But she's like, don't tell me how to play my character. I'm going to channel divinity shatter these guys instead. So she does that. So like I said, the rogue rolls a natural 1. And then I'm also partly to blame here because I'm an idiot because I didn't think about it at the time. I'm like, I could have used silvery barbs to let him reroll a saving throw, but we'd already moved on to the next person by then. Granted, that person hadn't done anything yet because this was Claire still trying to decide whether or not she was going to shatter or not. So I'm like, well, technically she hasn't done anything yet. And the deal's like, it's been like a minute. You should have thought of it before. And fair enough, I should have used it at the time. But still, I was like, you know, it's not like we're saying, hey, wait, 5 rounds ago, I could have done this. You know, like literally nothing has happened yet. In the initiative order, we had the rogue and then we had the cleric right underneath the rogue. And rogue went, rolls a 1, cleric hasn't done a thing. And I'm like, wait a minute. But yeah, whatever, not a problem. So rogue's got 2 fails on his death saving throw. Cleric decides to cast Shatter, you know, instead. And we're still fighting. I mean, granted, fighter guy, ranger guy's dead. Silly me. Fighter guy could have tried to give him a potion or something maybe, but you know, he's too busy attacking. And to be fair, fighter guy's doing some pretty good damage. He's only got 1 attack around because we're only level 3 or maybe we're 4 at this point, whatever we are, right? He's only got the 1 attack around, but he does have the butt end of the polearm as well. So there is that, you know, he's doing some pretty decent damage. Rogue guy, of course, is doing most of the damage, but now he's dying and bleeding out. But at the end of the round, octopus tentacles end up like sweeping the bridge, and everybody on there gets hit by a bludgeoning attack. No hit roll needed, which included the Kenku rogue. And since he's already unconscious, that counts as yet another failed death saving throw. So the Kenku rogue is literally dead. So I decide, well, he's only 3 feet tall. He can't be that heavy. Fighter guy, carry the rogue. So he ends up grabbing the rogue, and we bring him back to town. And originally, the Guild Masters of Ayas were going to pay us 400 gold for this mission. So that's 100 gold apiece. But I'm like, well, how about instead of paying us, you cast Raise Dead on the rogue instead, which is actually a 500 gold value. So technically, we're coming out ahead on this, right? So they agree because they're like, yeah, okay, sure, we can cast Raise Dead, and no, we don't have to pay you guys either. It works out, right? So they agree, and then the cleric starts complaining. Now, to be fair to the cleric, she doesn't have her vivify or anything like that, right? She couldn't have resurrected him, so that's not, none of this is on her. But she starts complaining that we're not getting paid for this mission now, and I'm like, well, technically we're kind of getting paid. We're getting paid in rogues, but she didn't like that at all. So then finally, the fighter guy's just like, okay, fine, then let's get paid 400 gold for the mission, and then we can pay the temple 500 gold to resurrect him for us. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to hint at without being quite so direct. But, at this point, everybody's just kind of yelling at each other. I mean, not me and Rogue. Me and Rogue are super chill today. In fact, I'm having a good time. But, cleric and fighter guy are like this. And this is one thing I've learned about these two in the past. If you try to play peacemaker or get in the middle where they're like, as soon as you start saying something, they just go, and they start coming at you. So, yeah, it's kind of best to not do anything. So, this was a pretty rough game session. There were parts of it that were really fun, but it was also really stressful at parts too. And I'm just like, oh man, why am I even here tonight? This is not fun. I'm playing games for fun, and this is not it. But we managed to get through that particular evening as well. Like I said, it was pretty rough though. We then later heard that the merchant was actually a nice guy who used his money to help people, but of course now the Guildmaster's Vias have his money, so nothing we can do there too. Although I have decided we are going to have to do something with these people at some point. We're going to have to take them down. I did take comprehend languages though at some point. I changed out one of my psionic spells for comprehend languages just because I was tired of not being able to talk to anybody except for lizard folk. So I figured that maybe if we had to deal with that, then things would be a little bit better. That kind of wrapped things up there. We do have, we then have the Isle of the Abbey part of the mission, and then the stuff that happened last night. But I'm probably going to save those for the next video, which I'm hoping to do right away. So I might even just do it tonight, but then, it's a lot easier to watch two 20-minute videos than one 40-minute video, So that's going to do it for part 2. Like I said, there was lots of salt, though. The salt was still flowing. But this time, it wasn't flowing for me. So that's an improvement on my end. Like I said, it's been a little rough. But that's okay. That's okay. Also, there's been some very questionable decisions made by many people, including myself. So, what do you do? Anyways, it was still fun. It'd be nice if we had a cleric that actually healed instead of just casting Shatter, but whatever. We've all been there. You want the wizard to cast Fly on somebody, but he casts Fireball instead, or you ask the cleric to cast Revivify on your dead character, and then they're like, I used all my spell slots on Spirit Guardians, and you're like, of course you did. Why am I even surprised? Anyways, so that was Salty and Saltmarsh Part 2. It has been fun. My character's been a lot of fun too. I've decided I'm going to become BFFs with the Lizard Queen since I speak her language, right? And just because I think it's also fun to roleplay that kind of stuff. And just a couple of my teammates, the other people in my party, they get really kind of annoyed by that kind of stuff. So I kind of like to ham it up sometimes. And yeah, whatever. It's going to be fun. I'm going to become best friends with the Lizard Queen, And I get sending at level 5, which I've already used twice now to send messages to the Lizard Queen just because I can. She's my pen pal, okay? What can I tell you? Anyways, so that's going to do it for part 2. I'm just going to make part 3 right away, right after this, and then I'll probably post them a day or two apart so people have time to watch them. But anyways, that's everything. So if you see my hair and clothes look exactly the same, yeah, that's why. All right, but anyways, that's everything for this video. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell for notifications, and most importantly, leave me comments in the comment section. I'm sorry I haven't made any videos lately, but I do mean to get on that. Also, I finally picked up Player's Handbook for Player's Handbook 24 or 5.5 or whatever we're calling it. I'm just going to call it 5.5 probably, because why not? And I will be making some videos on that. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I have been a little surprised to see that there's been a lot less enthusiasm for 5.5 than I thought. But I think a lot of that falls on Wizards of the Coast kind of burning a lot of the goodwill they had with the D&D community. And, you know, I haven't played any of it yet, right? So that's part of it too, is I've been kind of hoping that we might run something using the new rule set and then actually have some actual game experience to talk about, you know, instead of just theory crafting all the time. And theory crafting is fine too, but, you know, actual played experience usually trumps it, in my opinion. So, you know, whatever, though. There is that. We've also been playing the Fallout tabletop RPG, right, based on the computer games. Although we were mostly inspired by the TV show. We all saw the TV show and we're like, hey, we should try the Fallout game we were talking about. And it turns out it uses a D20 system, like 2D20s, kind of like the Conan system, if anybody's ever played that, where you have to roll as low as possible. So it turns out Jaden and Paul have really found their games. Like two guys who can't roll higher than a 6 on a D20 to save their lives. Now they need to roll as low as possible, and they are just killing everything. It's like all 1s, 2s, and 3s all night. We finally found a game where they can put that, you know, their cursed dice to use. It's not the dice that are cursed. It's just them. Let's be honest. But yeah, so that's been kind of fun too. I might even do a product review on Fallout at some point. That'd be cool, I guess. But anyways, that's it for part 2. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, which is literally going to be right away. All right, thanks. Bye.